All right, so I'm Lior Kozai. I'm kind of a freelance journalist right now, based out of Toronto. I'm a huge Raptors fan, NBA fan, NFL fan. So yeah, let's talk about them today, I guess.
Okay. Well, since that's how you started, let's talk with the Raptors and the NBA. The question that I think everyone's talking about right now is the trade that the Nets made. But what we
Mhm.
don't talk about is how does that affect everybody else? Because we're kind of centered on this is what the Nets are going to do and this is what's going to happen. But remember, and I know you know, there was a season not too long ago where the Raptors weren't supposed to be as good as they were and won. Then last year, there was a season with the Heat that weren't supposed to be as good as they were, and they got to the finals. So this great Nets team isn't guaranteed to get any place. So how does that trade and the NBA East in general work with Raptors?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think like you said, like we've had some unpredictable results the last couple of years. And I think kind of the East, basically since LeBron left, has been pretty open. There's a bunch of different contenders. There's been like 3, 4 teams at least each year that I think had at least like a small shot at making the finals. Um, and I think like we've seen this Nets team 3 games now,
Mm-hmm.
and like we talked about this on the show last week with James, how like this team can't defend. They gave up 115 points to the Magic, who basically
Yeah.
hadn't scored over 100 in the new year,
Right.
except against a Cleveland team that was missing a bunch of players. So they gave up a bunch of points. Then they gave up 147, granted in double
To that
overtime,
same
but
Cavs team, right?
even in regulation, like 115 to the Cavs. Yeah, and they lost that game. And the other game to the Bucks was a great game. It was, I think, the Monday night MLK Day game, and they lost or they won that one, but they gave up 123 points. So the Nets they're going to be an incredible offense. I think regardless of like the shot distribution and all that. Like they just have all this talent that they're going to be amazing offensively. But yeah, they're not a perfect team. They're really flawed at the center position and defensively. And like we've seen, like they're 2-1 with the new guys, but they're still kind of figuring things out. And the defense is going to be a struggle. So I think like we have a bunch of teams that could really have a chance at it. I don't know if the Raptors are one of those teams, but I think like the Bucks and even down to matchup where I think like the perfect matchup to kind of take away Giannis's strengths and that team's strengths. And when it comes to a team like the Bucks, sorry, I think my
That's right.
internet connection
That's
might
right.
have been
We'll patch it through. It's okay.
okay.
Well,
Uh,
well, I'm sorry. Go ahead and
go
continue.
ahead, go ahead.
Continue.
Yeah, so I was just saying, like, it may just come down to matchups because I think these teams are pretty evenly matched, like in terms of raw talent and both ends of the floor. But it may just come down to which teams are able to kind of take away each other's strengths and like how that playoff bracket plays out. But yeah, like you said, it's not a guarantee that anyone is going to come out of the East, like any particular team, even if the Nets are the favorite.
Well, I see on the Nets team, I see three guys that obviously can't be defended one on one. However, I see two guys that can't defend one on one.
Yeah.
So, and as we have spoken before, I think the key to that is going to be, can you get KD shots without him having to dominate the ball, which it can be done. He's a greatly efficient player that he can get 30 with 15 shots. That's he can go to the
Yeah,
line, he hits
absolutely.
some threes. He's going to be good at that. So that's not going to be the problem. So once we get that out of our mindset, I think, and they get out of their mindset, just get him the ball and don't ignore him, obviously, but get him the ball when he needs to get the ball. But you're going to have to keep filtering other guys into the lineup that can guard people because I don't even know if it's indifference now with James Harden. I'm just not sure he's in shape to guard anybody. And that may be the case through the rest of the year. I mean, it's obviously he didn't try and get in top physical shape between the bubble and now because he didn't want to play for Houston least that's my opinion, and he wanted to force himself out. Then you look at Kyrie, who can play defense, but, and again, this is an opinion thing. It's like, yeah, where's his head most of the time? Is it engaged on net? It's easy to be engaged when you have the ball. Heck, I was an awful player, but I was engaged when I had the ball. It was, what did you do when you didn't have the ball? And that's going to be the tough thing for them to do. But like you said, but Toronto is not far away. We'll touch on that here in a second. You've got the Bucks, who have another guy that's hard, almost impossible to defend, and they put pieces around him. Then you've got the younger team. Again, don't discount the Heat. We did that last year. I know I did, but there they were. And you've got other teams that have a shot. So when you look at the Raptors, what do they have to do to put themselves, sans Kawhi, back into the mix?
I think it really comes down to creating good shots in the half court. Like we saw last year, they were one of the best transition teams in the league. And I think, again, they're near the top fast break points and kind of efficiency at getting the most possible points out of those fast break opportunities they get. And I think their defense, like, it started a little bit up and down, but I think it's kind of coming together now, and it's gotten a little better over the last few games. They have basically like elite or at least above average defenders at every position. Like, just talking about Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and then Chris Boucher is kind of emerging off the bench as this really good shot blocker and kind of rim protector in the absence of an Ibaka and Gasol. So they've got like really good defenders across positions. They're well coached. They kind of have all the pieces. It's just on offense when you find a team like the Celtics or the Bucks that can really slow you down and force you to score in the half court. Like, how are the Raptors going to get good shots? Because they don't have that one-on-one score like a Kawhi, or like in the East now, Kevin Durant. And I mean, the Nets have three of them. The Raptors don't really have even one, because Pascal Siakam is a great player in transition, especially, and he can score in different ways. He can score like catch and shoot threes and off the pick and roll and in post ups, but like just as a one-on-one guy and kind of looking to create that shot, he struggles a lot of the time. And when he gets like, especially against those good defenders, the East is full of them, and Jaylen Brown, Giannis, KD at times, just up and down looking across the East teams, like, you're going to have to score against these really good one-on-one defenders. And I don't really have the confidence in him to create that shot all the time. So I think they depend a lot on the guards and Lowry and VanVleet, and it's tough. Like, these little, like, basically 6 foot tall guys, like my height, going against like giants, and teams love to put big, lanky guards on them, like the Marcus Smart types and these really good longer defenders. So it's tough for these guys to create a shot. So if they can, either Siakam can kind of take a next step as a guy who can go from the perimeter and be pulling up for mid-range shots and step backs and kind of creating as a one-on-one guy, or they can find that, if they can find that from someone else like an OG Anunoby, kind of taking that next step. And so far this season, it's been like with mixed results, and it's depended on the matchup a lot. But I think it's going to be kind of the big question for them all season, if they can get that next step on offense.
I think what they need to do, and I remember Broussard in college turned himself into a decent supplementary offensive player, and actually more than decent, I think, at that point. But now it's got to transfer to the NBA. I think what they need to do, Nick Nurse is going to have to say, we can't just have one guy dribbling the ball, pound, 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 and then hope we're going to get something late in the shot clock. I don't think they're built that way. They're going to have to come up with some motion, some more screen and roll, some more things where they have more people in movement. Of course, I say that about every team, so that's just me. But they're going to have some movement, because, like you said, they do not have that one superior scorer that can go against Jimmy Butler and get a shot off. You're gonna have to say, we've got lockdown defenders in several different teams that's going to lock you down or lock your best player down, and I'm not even sure who that is offensively right now. And I think they're going to have to make some more. Again, they're getting stuff for transition, but they're going to have to get some more motion going on. So that would be the key there. Now, we're looking at Milwaukee, Miami, some of these other teams. What's the matchup there, you think?
Just how do the Raptors match up? Or
Yeah.
yeah, they've struggled with those teams. I mean, even going back to last year when they had an excellent record. I mean, it was better in terms of like winning percentage because we had less than 82 games, but winning percentage, they had a better win rate than in the season with Kawhi. So they actually had a great regular season, but they did struggle with the Milwaukee's and the Miamis of the world. And I think that really comes down to, like I said, like these teams with the Bam to kind of take away what Siakam likes to do, and Giannis to take away what Siakam likes to do, and then also those types of guards like Jimmy, and the Bucks had Bledsoe, and now they have Holiday, kind of that similar type of guard that can get to Lowry and Van Vliet. And yeah, so it's going to be tough for them to score in the half court against those teams. Miami likes to mix in a lot of zone as well, which has given the Raptors some trouble. I think, I'm not sure if they still are now, but at one point the Raptors were leading the league by like a wide margin in 3-point attempts, and they're still at like 43 a game, which is a ton in terms of attempts. And they're shooting like above average, but they're not like a great 3-point shooting team. And I think that really reflects how they aren't able to get to the rim. They aren't able to get in the paint, and they're kind of settling a lot of the time. And I think that's going to be a struggle for them. But like you said, like, I think they really need to get some of that motion and maybe have like a lot of stuff at the high post with Boucher and Siakam, and kind of coming around for like dribble handoffs with the guards and stuff like that. That Miami loves doing that with Bam, running Duncan Robinson and Hero off the screens, and even like Jimmy Butler. And you kind of need that, just something to get the guys moving instead of just like a basic pick and roll at the top of the arc with Lowry and everyone else standing around. I think that's where they really struggle, where everyone's stagnant, and then like, you know, you're just getting a driving kick for a three, and it's just three after three, and sometimes you need to get to the rim.
Yeah. And it just takes them so long to get into an offensive set that way. So this is going to be it. It's a one pass and shoot, and there's 4 seconds left in the shot clock, because you're setting up the pick and roll, then you reset, and then and he hits the lane and throws it back. And by that time, it's like, you know, I got to take a forced three no matter what. You know, I don't think that's a recipe for success. Okay, we're looking at a few other things, you know, how do the Sixers match up? I'm looking at matchups, not necessarily matchups, but styles. You have the Sixers that are long. The Bucks have Giannis, who's long, and Middleton and those guys. And then you've got the Nets. You know what? Here's where I'm at here. I don't know that the Nets are the team to worry about. And I don't mean that in a derogatory. I'm just saying either you beat them or you don't. You don't have to really think your way through playing the Nets. You know, you have to worry about how's Ben Simmons playing? How do we guard Embiid? What do we do here and there? You know, is Jimmy Butler going to get hot? Are Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, are there people we have to worry about today? You know, the Nets, you know what they've got. You know, it's either they score or they don't. So I think that if you catch them on a cold night and they can't guard you, or you catch them on a hot night, I guess, depending upon how you look at it, they can't guard you, you can beat the Nets. It's how do you match up with the other team? So, and that kind of morphs us into the NFL as well. As I've told you before, I'm the general of segues here. So this was a bad one, but it works. I think these are matchup games as well this weekend. So let's start with the NFC and see what we think there. The matchup that everyone's going to be talking about, obviously, is Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. What's the true matchup that you really think is the key?
I think it's about really the pass rush and whether they can get to Brady and get to Rodgers. Ironically, like that, their matchup in, I think it was week 6 when they played each other, was really the only time that a team really just demolished the Packers offensive line and got to Rodgers and really made him uncomfortable. And I forget, I think I saw the pressure rate stat, but it was like around 50% of his throws were pressured. And he threw 2 picks, which is like unheard of for Rodgers. I think he only threw 5 or 6 all season, and those were 2 of them. So that game just got out of hand really quick for the Packers. And normally, like, they're kind of known for like having the best offensive line in the league. They lost their left tackle, but still like really good at protecting Rodgers. And we saw it last week against the Rams where like Rodgers was doing whatever he wanted. They were completely comfortable against arguably the best defense in the league. So that I think is a huge factor. And then on the other side, the Packers defense has kind of played a little better as the season has gone on. They got a few sacks on Goff last week. And I think just going against Brady, it's kind of the book is out on him at this age where he's not really gonna scramble or anything if
he's gonna be right there.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's gonna be there. And I think like just looking, I think there was a DVOA on him when he gets pressured was like minus 100% or something. It was so like off the charts ridiculous, like how bad he was against pressure. He's like 30th in the league among quarterbacks, and then all other times he's like still a top 5, top 10 guy, and one of the best in the league. So I think it's really going to come down to like which team can get pressure on the other. Do they both, like if they're both able to do that, like which offense can kind of survive? And I'd probably lean toward the Packers just because they have so many different weapons and ways to beat you with the run game and the pass game. But just like if the Packers are able to get to Brady, then like I think the Bucs, like I don't know, I don't see their path to victory. Whereas the Packers have like a little bit more of a counter if that does happen. What do you think?
Well, we talk about the Buccaneers. They have Brady. They've got Evans, they've got Godwin, they've got AB, maybe Gronkowski, Brady, maybe not Ronald Jones Jr. or Ronald Jones II, but we also have Leonard Fournette. So they have all these fantastic weapons they can deploy, names we've heard of, but that doesn't mean anything if Brady's not clean. And I think that, to me, that's the key to the whole thing, because you go to the other side and you're going to say, well, we might have Lazard. We've got Devontae Adams. We have the tight ends whose name I never remember because I never remember his name. You have, you know what I mean, right? You have a maybe playable Aaron Jones and his backups who were solid most of the season, but again, their names you go, somebody Williams, I think, and then somebody Johnson and Stevens. You just come up with names that, but that doesn't matter as much because they have Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers can make something out of nothing or out of something weird 2 or 3 times a game. And that could be the key. Now, he can also, as you said, throw 2 picks in those situations, but he hasn't done that this year. So to me, it looks like even if the Buccaneers defensive line and Pierre-Paul and those guys come through and do what they're supposed to do, Aaron Rodgers will go, I'll throw this away. But there will be 2 or 3 times in the game where he's going to hit somebody, and he doesn't care who he's throwing the ball to, as a matter of fact. He'll just kind of go, and they'll end up with a great play out. And I don't think Tom Brady can do that anymore. It's got to be so structured for Tom Brady and for what they do that he's not just go, oh, there's Gronk running down the seam. And Gronk's not getting down the seam like he used to either. So that's going to be, I think the key is, can you pressure Tom Brady? I think over the entire thing, that's what it comes down to. Can you get pressure on Tom Brady? It really doesn't matter if you can pressure Rodgers as much because he can still have a subpar game and still in 30 seconds make it work. Whereas I don't think Brady has that magic anymore. So, that makes for a shorter show because you could always say, well, what about the D-backs and what about the offensive line and what about the special teams? Yeah. What about the weather? I think that just all goes out the window. Like you said, it comes to how do you pressure the quarterback? Okay. So we'll elongate the next segment then. What do you think about the AFC then?
The AFC is super interesting to me because, like you said, now that I think about it, in the NFC, it is about whether they pressure Brady, and that can kind of make or break the game, and everything else is, I don't want to say irrelevant, but it's much less of a factor. But in the AFC, I think there's just a million factors out here. I mean, of course, the whole caveat is going to be is Mahomes going to be healthy? I think everyone is just assuming he's going to play at this point, based on like the updates from practices and all that. But I guess like he was already kind of favoring his toe, like he was kind of limping around even before he got the concussion. And I think it's like you can't really stop these two guys and in Mahomes and the way Allen has been playing this year, but you can slow them down and make them uncomfortable in different ways. And this matchup, like the way they played in their previous matchup, was very like out of character for both these teams, I would say. Like I think Allen struggled a lot against the blitz, which he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league against the blitz all season, but against the Chiefs blitz, for some reason, he struggled in that previous matchup. And Mahomes was kind of normally obviously loves the big plays, and they're super pass heavy, one of the pass heaviest teams in the league. And they were running the ball with Edwards-Helaire. It was kind of a rainy, cold game. And and the Bills were giving them the run, not letting them make the big plays. And basically the Chiefs were saying, okay, like we'll just run on you. So I think like I can't see that repeating again, but I think it comes down to like which team is going to really continue to do what they like to do. And that's a lot of the passes, the play action for deep throws, and which team is going to, or is either team going to kind of like work their way down the field slowly and be taken out of their usual preferred style of play.
Well, let's touch on the Chiefs first, because if it's not Mahomes, or if he can't go the entire game or whatever, do they see? This is my question. Now, I'm not going to say that Mahomes isn't great. I'm not going to say that at all. But now, I guess it's the chicken and the egg thing. They've added so many weapons, or they've become weapons. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. That I'm not entirely sure that the quarterback position for the Chiefs, and they can still be effective. That makes sense, or is it like if you put Chad Henne in and he's got Tyreek Hill and Kelsey and Hardman and Robinson and this guy and that guy, can they still run what they do effectively even at Mahomes?
Like they can still be good. Like I wouldn't say it's impossible for them to win, because like I think they were number 2 in the AFC before the year before Mahomes came in. Like they were still a really good team. I think like Alex Smith at that point was a lot better than like a backup in Henne. But still, like they were a good team, and they do have like all these weapons. They have incredible play calling. I think like Andy Reid's one of the best coaches in the league, and Bieniemy is like a great offensive coordinator. They have all the tools in place, but like Mahomes just can kind of bail them out in places where like almost no other quarterback can do, and kind of just create something out of nothing when the defense is good, when the coverage is good. He can kind of create all those plays. And I don't know if they're going to get that if he's not. I mean, even if he's playing, but if he's not 100%, like I don't know if he can scramble the same way where it's like 3rd and long and they just need those like 8 yards or whatever, and he always manages to pick it up. And I don't know if he's going to be comfortable running like that anymore, even if he is